time to react. This is Mike's Lifestyle Tips and Reactions, where we react to everything from culture to fashion to news. So this is culture/news. Today we're going to be reacting to something that's currently going on within the culture, and that is the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. So I'm going to be reacting to a video from the Ben Shapiro show. This is titled Rittenhouse Case, the prosecution's major evidence problem explained. All right, so let's get into this. Let's see what Mr. Ben Shapiro has to say.
Trial continues to undergo deliberation. It is insane to me that we are still deliberating about this case. When I say we, I mean the jury. This case is the most clear-cut case of self-defense I have ever seen in my life. But the judge yesterday correctly blasted the media for their misinformation about the trial. Here's what the judge had to say.
Some of the other misinformation about the case that is widespread, and you gentlemen are as aware of it as I am. Now they had some people in the Milwaukee Journal, I think I read it, said it was odd, I think was the word, that I didn't rule on the motion to dismiss. I haven't even had a chance to read the motion to dismiss. I just got it yesterday, and I really think before I rule on a motion, I should let the state respond. So why anyone would think that it's odd for the judge to sit on a motion to dismiss, I have no idea.
Okay, so the media coverage in the case has been absolutely bizarre.
Yes,
he is exactly right about that, and politically driven. Well, yesterday, the prosecution ran directly into a buzzsaw because it turns out that the prosecution handed over a badly pixelated version of the drone footage. You remember there was drone footage of the first shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum by Kyle Rittenhouse. And it turns out that the prosecution had that for a long time, and finally when they turned it over, it was a badly pixelated version of the video. According to Breitbart, the dispute involved several videos, especially a high-definition video the prosecution used in closing arguments on Friday, which had not been provided to the defense, which received only a low-res version. The defense moved for a mistrial Tuesday on that basis. ADA John Krause told the judge the prosecution had not intentionally withheld video evidence from the defense, but there was an accidental compression involved in moving video between iPhone and Android devices. The person who took the footage, according to Krause, had earlier provided it to Rittenhouse's former attorney, John Pierce, who had shown it last year on the Tucker Carlson show on Fox News. When it was emailed to the defense, there was a compression, he said, which had not been deliberate. He said he had no idea how to compress the files. The defense countered the files appeared to be different, and the metadata accompanying the video appeared different. The defense also said the video provided to Tucker Carlson was different as it was black and white. The prosecutor's video was in color. That had not been the problem, but rather the superior quality of the prosecution's video. Defense lawyer Mark Richer said, "At this point, Your Honor, they've not requested what we're fighting about." "You're correct," the judge replied. Earlier on Wednesday, the jury did send a question to the judge about whether it would be permitted to review video evidence in the courtroom or in private. So that came in late yesterday afternoon. Okay, so the prosecutors tried to claim that it was just a technical glitch. The defense said that this video evidence was compressed by the prosecution and passed over to them in order to deceive them, which wouldn't be a shock because there have been serious evidentiary questions throughout. Here is the defense making that argument.
The one that was provided to the state's crime lab that Attorney Binger gave me a copy of on Saturday had a very long, convoluted title that involves lots of letters and numbers that are the type that are usually associated with files taken from a drone because they indicate a lot of different information like the location of the drone and the time. The file I received originally on Friday the 5th was not labeled that same and was not the same file amount. There's no way that what ADA Krause is saying is true because the file name would not have changed if my computer was compressing anything. It was a different file that we were provided from what was provided to the state, at least for what Attorney Binger gave me on Saturday. They're completely different.
Okay, meanwhile, the prosecution admitted there was a technical glitch, but they said it was just a technical glitch, no biggie. The defense, by the way, is arguing that one of the reasons the prosecution did this is because they were looking for a mistrial, because this is going so badly for them.
I think we're focusing on too heavily on, I guess, a technological glitch, and less on and we should be focusing that this exhibit was played. The jury is asking to see exhibits that they have seen. They didn't know about this video. They've tried to find it just as we did. We found it, and there was a technological glitch. Or not a glitch, but I guess it worked in a way that is designed that we were not aware of. And I do not believe a technical reality, shall we say, or an unknown technical incident should result in a mistrial.
Yeah, sure. Okay, meanwhile, the media continue their habit of drawing the most bizarre narratives out of this case. Farhad Manjoo, who somehow has finagled a column at the New York Times, which is amazing because truly there is a running battle between the members of the New York Times editorial board about which one of them is the worst columnist. Farhad Manjoo is definitely near the top of the list. I think it goes like Charles Blow, Paul Krugman, Farhad Manjoo, but he's climbing the list each and every day. He had a piece yesterday in which he argued that the big problem in the Kyle Rittenhouse case was the gun. Not the people rioting in the streets attacking the guy with the gun. According to Farhad Manjoo, the lead prosecutor, Thomas Binger, offered a meticulously documented closing argument that deftly summarized all the ways Rittenhouse acted unlawfully. We'll see if the jury buys it, but to me, Binger's argument had a power beyond this case. That's because it cleverly unraveled some of the foundational tenets of gun advocacy, that guns are effective and necessary weapons of self-defense. Well, I'm not sure how that was unraveled, considering that Rittenhouse would probably be dead today, or at the very least in a coma in a hospital, if he had not had a gun. He says that without them, lawlessness and tyranny would prevail. Lawlessness and tyranny did prevail in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
And that in the hands of the good guys, guns promote public safety rather than destroying it. Well, I mean, they do. There just weren't enough guns there in the hands of the good guys. There was one good guy with a gun, Kyle Rittenhouse in this particular case, up against an entire riotous mob, one of whom was a child molester trying to attack him, another of whom was a convicted criminal who was trying to attack him with a skateboard, and a third of whom was approaching him with his own gun. But says Farhad Manjoo, in the Rittenhouse case, none of that was true. At every turn that night, Rittenhouse's AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle made things worse, ratcheting up danger rather than quelling it. The gun transformed situations that might have ended in black eyes.
Pause. His gun made things worse? If the boy didn't have the gun, he would have been dead. Anybody who's seen this footage of him running from these attackers, and you are still saying that he shouldn't have had the gun, tell me, if you were in his situation, if you had actually chosen to go there, what would you have done differently? Put yourself in his shoes, and you're actually going there. You make a decision to go there, knowing that people are doing stupid things, knowing that you're trying to offer medical aid to people. You're going to throw yourself in harm's way. Would you have taken a gun or not taken a gun? Because here's the problem with that. If you're going to say no, one of the people, Gage Grossroots, who attacked him, had a gun, and he was a convicted felon and shouldn't have had a gun. So if you're going to say that Kyle should not have had a gun, you also have to say that the guy who aimed his Glock at his head shouldn't have had that gun aiming his Glock at his head. And had Kyle not had a gun, he would have had a bullet in his skull. I don't know what is wrong with these people. What is going on?
And broken bones into ones that ended with corpses in the street. Well, whose fault is that? The people attacking the guy with the gun or the guy with the gun?
Right.
But, the left must have its narratives. So we'll continue to keep an eye on the jury in that particular case. Honestly, I'm shocked they still have not come back in at this point. We're in a battle for the culture and for our...
Yeah, guys, this is nonsense. The way the media has been covering this case, anybody who's actually watched the footage and you're trying to be objective, it's clear. If you've seen hours and hours of the footage of him continuously being attacked by Joseph Rosenbaum and Gage Grossroots and fellow company, if you have seen the footage and you come away saying that he was the antagonizer in that situation, I don't think you're working with a fully developed brain. And I'm not trying to hurl insults. There's no way you watch that video in an objective manner and say, yes, he was the aggressor. There's no way, using any form of human reason, that you can watch that video and say, yes, Kyle was the aggressor in this situation. If you understand the context and you actually seen the videos of why Kyle was out there, you know that he worked in the area and he only stayed 30 minutes away. He actually literally worked in the area. He had friends out there. Guys, the way that this the media's been. I honestly, thus far, the way I've been tracking this, Kyle's innocent. And the way the media has been calling him a white supremacist and all this nonsense, when there's all the people involved were white, it makes no sense. So honestly, I hope if Kyle is innocent of this matter, if the verdict come back that he is not guilty, I hope he goes and sues all of these major networks that were defaming his name and saying he was a white supremacist and he was a racist. I hope he sues them for every penny that they're worth. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on this case. The Ahmaud Arbery case, that's a little different. It's pretty complex. This guy named Nate, the lawyer who's covering that. Yeah, it's complex and it's kind of back and forth. At first with the Ahmaud Arbery situation, I thought, because I tried to follow the evidence. So I try to look at the evidence and not just jump to a conclusion. So I try to look at the evidence and say, okay, hey, what's going on here? What's the best explanation for the evidence that we have in front of us, right? And to just immediately jump to racism, to me, is lazy if you don't have sufficient evidence for that. And as they've been digging more into that case, it's not looking good for the defendants, I'll tell you that. And from what I've been seeing, the prosecution's been whooping their butts. And that is looking like thus far, it's looking like a racial killing. That's a different video. I'll maybe touch on that some other time. But yeah, the Ahmaud Arbery situation, at first I thought maybe these guys were just some overwrought vigilante guys who knew that, hey, you know, a lot of robbery and burglaries had been happening in the neighborhood, and they saw him coming out of the house and blah blah blah, and they thought, hey, they noticed him from the video footage, so you know, and reasonably try to make a citizen's arrest. No, as the evidence came out, there was starting to become evidence to believe, no, there's more to this, and they might have had some ulterior motives. They didn't see him come out of the house and all this other stuff, and it's like, yikes. So yeah, man, it's not looking good for them. But for Kyle, I think Kyle's absolutely innocent based on everything I've seen. However, the witnesses, or the jury is being intimidated. You got people outside the courthouse, and you got mob justice trying to sway the court's opinion and trying to sway the verdict. That's dangerous, man. That's dangerous. When the verdict is swayed by anything other than applying reason to the evidence laid out before you within the courtroom, when the verdict is swayed by anything outside of the courtroom, you have a problem, man. And the way the media has been covering this, and you got people that have been recording the jurors and everything, trying to put pressure on them in order to sway a verdict the way they want it, and we're going to burn down the city if we don't get the verdict. That's mob justice, man. I feel bad for these jurors, dude, because it's easy to say, you know what, let's just say he's guilty, blah, blah, blah. That way the city doesn't burn, right? Most of these people probably live in the city, live in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So, you know, the safe decision is always, of course, to say, you know what, we're just going to say he's guilty, right? Regardless of what the evidence shows. But in this situation, dude, I don't see how a rational person can look at all the evidence that's being laid out and say, oh yeah, absolutely, he was the antagonizer. You know, he was the antagonizer. He murdered these guys. If you're saying that, I cannot trust your ability to properly reason like an adult. I can't. I can see someone looking at the Ahmaud Arbery situation and saying, yeah, those guys acted with racial motives, because the evidence is there to support that. There's some evidence there to support that. Prior to there being evidence there to support that, it's hard to say that. Because there could have been a few other factors that pointed in. But I think in today's world, we're so quick to jump to why someone was shot or why this happened, and the only reasonable, rational explanation that we've come up with now is this racism, racism. And to me, that's just lazy, man. It's lazy. That's not how the real world works. And I understand that history plays forward. I get that. When you actually try to sit there and gather the information within the given context and say, hey, what is the best explanation for why this happened? If all you can come up with is racism, when there's not sufficient reason to believe racism, it's lazy, man. Sorry. It's lazy. It's lazy. Do some people get killed because of their skin color still here in 2020 in America? Yes. Unfortunately, yes. You can look at the FBI statistics. Unfortunately, hate crimes still happen, and they're disgusting. And in my opinion, any officer or any citizen of America who kills anyone for any malicious reason of their gender or their skin color or their sexual orientation, if you take someone's life because of those things, your life ought to be taken. I don't think this 20 years to life nonsense. No, you take someone's life because of a reason like that, exonerated. You have forfeited your right to live on this earth. A life for a life. That's how I see it. So yeah, man, that's just my thoughts on this whole situation and what's going on in America here. We're living in some crazy times, man. We are living in some crazy times. So I guess we'll see what happens with the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict and how that goes. I hope the jurors have courage and a steel spine in order to stand up to what's about to happen if they vote not guilty. So let's keep them all in our thoughts and prayers, regardless of what you think is supposed to happen from this situation. And yeah, if you guys want to see more of these type of reactions and these type of responses to what's going on in the culture, click that bell and give me a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, I just have one question. Why? Click that bell, baby. Click that bell and click all right? Because if you don't, you will not get consistent notifications of when I upload on my video. But you guys already know. Until next time.